we go.
Good evening. Good evening. You are listening to Whissel Wednesdays here on AM 1170. The Answer, as always, joined by my co-host extraordinaire, Mr. Jason Hall, Team Home Loans.
I don't think I can ever not hear that enough. Extraordinaire. Wow.
Do you like that?
You know, I guess I do.
The word makes up for what you lack in height, I think.
Oh, I'm 6 foot and I lack in height.
Yes. In our office.
Not in the office, but with the guest we have on the radio show. Right. Even Dave, we've got in here studios at least 6 foot plus, right? You always have a lot of tall guys.
Yeah. You got to be 6
I'm
feet
6
plus
foot
to enter.
And I'm the shortest guy that usually comes on the radio with you.
Yeah.
Because Craig Sowing's how tall?
He's 6'4".
Okay. Even Mark Larson, who just left. How tall's Mark?
I don't know. Haven't measured.
Mark's at least 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah. But that's why we bring the little box in here for you.
Well, I
so when we
appreciate
shoot
the box.
The photos, you're the same height. I mean, we got to make sure you don't feel inferior. So we give you words like extraordinaire. We give you the box to stand on.
I got to Google that.
What it means?
Yeah, how do you spell that?
Oh, let's not go there. We know that spelling and words are not your strong point.
I'm even getting moved here, right? Yeah. I know we're live on Facebook right now.
We're also live on the air, Jason.
Yeah, it's always a little delay, right, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but it's Facebook. What's this Facebook thing?
I'm surprised you're not calling it the Facebook like most people your age.
Yeah, kind of like the pound sign?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the pound sign. When David and I grew up, it was a pound sign. It wasn't hashtag.
I love it. Also in studio, we got David Reyes, the financial architect. David, how are you?
Good, Kyle. How are you?
Good, good. You're the financial guy.
Yep.
And there's been a lot happening when it comes to finance lately, and a lot of it has to do with the man who was on TV this morning.
Correct.
I didn't get to see everything that happened this morning. I heard it was very, very interesting. So Paul, Jason, Dave, and we also got Cyndy Higgerson with Whissel Realty in studio. Who got to see that this morning that can really give us the lowdown on what happened?
I heard bits and pieces of it.
So give us what you heard today, Paul.
Basically, Trump bashing the media, CNN and BuzzFeed in particular. He was pretty savage to him when he should have been, especially BuzzFeed. That was ridiculous what came out last night. I don't even want to repeat what they said was in the story about Trump.
Well, they were saying that the intelligent community here of our government, which is funny in itself, right, has determined or found out that the Russians have stuff on Trump and they're going to use it against the United States. And apparently some guy named Mike Cohn, they had all this inside information. And so Trump literally had Mike Cohn, who's a personal friend of his, an executive on his team, bring him his passport. And the guy's never been in Russia. Now, there was another Michael Cohn who was there. And so this is how great our media is. They're just looking for stuff to get people to listen, whether or not they even fact-checked it anymore, Kyle. And that's what's going on. But with Dave being in here, we see the market's actually been going up today. Right? I mean, so why is it? Why is this president-elect? And is it because Obama's been so bad for 8 years or the Democrats? But why is everybody so excited about the stock market since he got elected?
Well, here's the funny thing. Everybody was negative. And the whole thing was if Trump gets elected, then the market's going to crash. I can tell you overnight, we had what's called limit down. The market was down 5% overnight, which said circuit breakers kick in and you cannot trade anymore. So that did happen. So if you take from the bottom of that overnight session to today, the market moved. The Russell Small Cap Index has moved 20% since then, the largest move in the history of the stock market. So I think it goes back to, it's called being wrong-footed. Most people are wrong. That's why, sheep get slaughtered. People, it's called, so everybody's on one side of the trade. Everybody's negative on Trump being elected, and everybody thought Hillary's going to win, just like Brexit, offsides. So what's happening is you really have some, euphoria that's happened. I think it's gone a little too far, too fast. But the argument for the economy right now is taxation, reduction of taxes for corporate income taxes, personal income taxes, infrastructure spending, repatriation of money. All these things are the things that are driving the markets. The problem is these don't happen overnight.
Right.
Tax reform is probably going to take a year in and of itself, and that's one of the easiest things to pass. So what I think is probably going to happen in a forward base, you'll see the market probably, we could be at yearly highs right now. In fact, most of the experts, Barron does a report every year. I mean, experts is kind of an oxymoron, quite honestly. but these prognosticators that are a lot smarter than me say the market's going to end at 2280 on average. The S&P 500 today is at about 2280.
Okay.
So you could argue that the market is already priced
made the
in.
move.
It's already made the move and really has made a massive move. So On a forward basis, who knows? I think real estate's going to be fine. Interest rates are going to stay low.
I agree.
Our economy is just not strong enough globally to handle these rate increases. In fact, Yellen said back in 2014 that we were going to have 3.5% federal funds rates today, and now we're at basically 0.75 of a basis point.
Right.
And that's 3 years later. So that's how wrong.
That's how how she's an expert, right?
Exactly.
She doesn't know. I mean, she's wise and she's doing the best job she can with what she has. But no one knows exactly what tomorrow's going to bring, let alone a year, 2 or 3 years away.
Well, here's a good statistic for you, and last I'll talk about this, is that the Federal Reserve has the most brain power of any entity in the world. They have 1,000 PhDs.
Wow.
They've never predicted one recession ever.
I like that.
Ever.
Can we save that clip right there? I need to save that clip, Paul.
That is a true statement. So that tells you how seriously I take other people's opinions about predicting markets.
But what's unique about Trump is he's still Trump. He literally, the CNN, because CNN's the one that reported it, he said there was this bad organization, they're horrible, they're frauders, and the CNN guy did not want to shut up and wanted to talk, and he said, sir, I'm not calling you, I'm calling the person. The guy kept going, and he said, you're being rude. He just kept avoiding the guy, and the guy never got to talk during the press conference other than trying to overspeak everybody, and Trump's still Trump. I mean, and that's the good or bad. I think a lot of us who had to vote for him because we didn't want to vote for Hillary, some of our concern is he will say anything at any time to anyone, and that's good and it's bad, right? And so what do we think the markets are going to take about that? Because I mean, he may say stuff like Mexico and there's so many things he may say that's going to just, I think, move markets up and down.
Well, you got to remember, this was his first official press conference since being elected, and so there was a lot of anticipation today to what was going to happen, and the markets really they moved up and down. It's pretty much sideways since he talked. The market was kind of hanging on to what he was saying because it's his first opportunity to actually give some real policy discussions, which I didn't see any. I didn't get to see it all. He mostly talked about divesting himself from Trump Inc., and he's going to have his sons run the company. He had a lawyer that was on, did a very eloquent job of discussing removing the conflicts of interest. I think he did an excellent job, even going as far as saying anybody who stays at his hotels, a foreign dignitary or a foreign business person, he's going to donate the lodging fees to the U.S. Treasury.
Wow, to the U.S. Treasury.
He went that far. So he did a great job of saying, hey, shut up about this conflict of interest. And I was very, very impressed with that. So that's probably the most significant thing I saw.
Well, Trump's a great company if you've heard him say that before.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Like every time he can, Trump, that's a great company.
He usually says that 2 or 3 times. Great.
In the first minute, right?
Yeah.
But it's very interesting, because he said, hey, I could still run the company and run the country. I could do that. And there's no reason, no conflict that I can't. Rockefeller did, everybody else. Hey, I could do that, but I don't want to. I got great sons. I got great attorneys. They're going to run the company. I'm going to help run this great country, make America great again. So, and he did say, I'm going to build the wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. And he said we might refund them some money in the future based on what happens. But he also said he likes Mexico. I like the presidents. I like the people. And, I don't blame them for taking advantage of basically the stupid U.S. officials who've allowed this all to happen and move jobs across the border, So very interesting. So I know you're being quiet, Kyle, because you missed all that stuff.
I did.
But that was my
playing
morning.
With my baby all morning. I didn't get to watch
more important,
the
Kyle.
hot mess that was
So how's
on
the
TV.
little baby Nixon doing?
She's growing up too fast.
She's almost 8 months, right?
She's 8 months. Within the last month, she learned to crawl. She learned to stand. She learned to talk. She learned to feed herself. Like, she's growing up too fast. I don't like this.
She's going to be asking for the car keys shortly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's going too fast. I don't know about this.
Okay, is there another one in the work? Are you guys planning, thinking about it? Or are you already
There's
one
plenty
and done?
more on the Whissel Realty team in the works right now. So
Everybody's having babies on your team, right?
I mean, we're all getting into our 30s now, and this is when millennials have kids these days, is in their 30s. They don't do it like y'all did when you were 12
I was
years
22 with 2 kids,
Yeah.
right? 22 with 2 kids and a mortgage payment. Both my kids are over 22. Can't imagine being married. Can't imagine having a mortgage payment. Can't imagine having 1 kid, let alone 2. And mom and dad were married with a mortgage and 2 kids, 22 years old.
It's amazing how the times have changed.
Yeah.
I love it. Again, you're listening to Whissel Wednesdays here on AM 1170, The Answer. One of the things I want to talk about, Dave, we just kind of touched on the millennial thing. What do you see? As you mentioned, I'm a client of yours, probably one of the younger clients you have. What do you see in the investing habits of millennials versus, a baby boomer like Jason or the Gen X's that fall in the middle?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. I call them recession babies. There's actually a term for it. And because of baby boomers' parents were called depression babies because they grew up in the 30s. Banks went under. They didn't trust banks. Think of what's happened to millennials. They've lived through 2000, right? The tech wreck, the internet bubble,
right.
and they've lived through the financial crisis. So they saw housing and the stock market demolished twice. So they're pretty apprehensive about markets. So they're not really big investors in the stock market, quite honestly. Real estate is even one of the things that they've been slow to adopt, and you would probably be better to speak to about this than I would. But the millennials are concerned for me from a demographic standpoint long term because of those attitudes. Because again, the depression babies, they didn't trust banks, they didn't trust the stock market, and that was how they just saw markets for their entire lifetimes. So I think there is something to that, and that can be concerning, kind of passing the baton from the baby boomers to the millennials and Gen Xers, millennials in particular, because of spending habits. 2/3 of our economy, 70% of our economy is consumer spending.
Right.
So we have to spend money. So that, in a nutshell, is what my concerns are for millennials. The attitudes they have towards markets.
I mean, because when you think about it, Dave and Kyle and Cyndy, I mean, if you were kicked out of your house because your parents took a bad loan from a bad bank, you're going to have some negative impacts, right, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are just pissed off at the banks, and the bank gave you the loan. You're the one who didn't pay on the loan.
That's right.
But somehow you're mad at the bank.
It's everybody else's fault. It's not mine.
Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, the fact you went out and bought a $200,000 RV and all the toys to fill it, it is the bank's fault that you screwed up and did that with the money they gave you.
And that's what the government even said.
Yes, it is. All right, we're going to head to a break here, but I want to talk about what else could somebody spend a ton of money on that Tom Brady is pushing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that right after the break. Paul, get ready. Tom Brady. It's amazing what Tom Brady's promoting. Here he is getting ready to play an NFL game, and he's promoting something. We're going to talk about that right after the break. Again, you're listening to 1170 AM The Answer. We'll be right back.